Thank you very much, Fern. Let's talk now about magnet fishing. You might have enjoyed a relaxing weekend trip going fishing, maybe, and you catched a carp, or maybe you caught something to take home to cook or whatever. But this is magnet fishing. This is different. It's a growing pastime, and if you spend time doing it, you would be more likely to catch an old bike, a metal safe, or even live artillery. Enthusiasts, and there are many, we gather, lower a strong magnet into canals and trawl around for any metal objects that may lie beneath. Fans say it's a good way of clearing junk from our waterways while also bringing to light an array of artifacts that haven't seen the light of day in years. But amongst the bikes and the shopping trolleys, magnet fishermen have found knives, swords, and even live hand grenades. And that has led some to say this is dangerous and it needs regulating. You should have a license. Other critics say the real problem is that when so-called magnet fishers find something that they're not interested in, they don't take it away, they abandon it on the towpath. So have you seen them at work, or are you yourself a magnet fisher? We'd love to hear what you found. Do email vine@bbc.co.uk with your comment and your phone number. Text us 88291. We'll try and get back to you. Let's speak to Mac Miller, who's a magnet fisher based in Norfolk, and his YouTube channel is called the Dippy Detectorists. Also with us, Peter Birch, Group Environment Manager for the Canal and River Trust, who has some serious doubts about it. Matt, you go first. What is it that makes you magnet fish?
It's probably the curiosity first, I would say, Jeremy. You never know what you're going to find. Each chuck is different. You could find, I don't know, a safe full of money. It doesn't usually happen. It's normally pretty empty. All sorts of artifacts you can pull out of the river. It's just the curiosity interests us.
And I gather that there is quite a tradition of people who commit crimes with guns, throwing them in rivers, and you then find them.
Oh, tell me about it. Honestly, I don't know how the police let the rivers exist. You could chuck guns, knives, anything into rivers. It's the perfect way to get rid of any evidence, because obviously the fingerprints wear off. I really don't know how the police let the rivers exist. That's just the perfect way to get rid of stuff. And when we do find stuff like knives and, you know, sawn-off shotguns, double-barrel shotguns, as we have found in the past.
But you found a sawn-off shotgun?
Yeah, we found a sawn-off shotgun outside. So we're based in Norwich. So outside Toys R Us, there's a river. And we found a sawn-off shotgun. We were probably only magnet fishing for the second or third time. We pulled out. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. That looked like a toy, but that really wasn't a toy. We had to take it to the police station and everything to hand it in. It was completely harmless. I mean, a rock was probably more dangerous. That wouldn't have fired or anything. That was rusted right through. So if you do find anything like gun-related, it's never going to be used again.
There's something you found near Toys R Us. Was that the gun or the knives?
We found by Toys R Us the sawn-off shotgun.
Right.
Did you catch that?
Yeah, no, I got that. Sorry, I was just trying to work out how Toys R Us came into it. That's what threw me.
Oh, that's right. That was
knives as well.
Toys
What do you
R
do
Us.
when you find a knife?
When we find a knife, that goes into the scrap pile that we take down the tip. We dispose of all of our metal. We never leave it on the side. That's a disadvantage, I'm sorry to say, of some magnet fishermen and women. We really don't endorse that. They pull metal out of the river, leave it on the side for someone else to clear up. You know, you're cleaning the river of all this metal, all the pollution in the river, and then you're just polluting the side. We take all our metal away. Because, you know, there's no point doing it if not.
Well, there we go, Peter Birch. He's a very responsible magnet fisher.
Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for that. Unfortunately, not everybody doing this is as conscientious and helpful as Matt. So the Canal and River Trust is the charity that looks after over 2,000 miles of canal and some navigable rivers in England and Wales. And we think it's great that people want to help keep their waterways clean. But I'm afraid magnet fishing is really not the answer to that. We're very concerned about the safety of people carrying this out. And as Matt says, the amount of rubbish that gets left behind on the towpath, which then costs us money that we have to spend on picking that up instead of looking after the waterways.
If we take the rubbish element out, because Matt doesn't do that, is the safety to do with throwing something very heavy?
Well, so what we're worried about is particularly on riverbanks that not all riverbanks are terribly stable or safe. And if you're throwing in a heavy magnet and then latching onto something heavy underneath, we're just worried about people possibly falling in. But really, the point is, this isn't the sort of activity that that helps everybody to enjoy their time by the water, and that's what we're about. So we, as an alternative, we run loads of volunteer clean-up events. So if you're interested in coming out and seeing what's underneath the water, then you can sign up with us to do that, and we can do that in an organised and safe manner. Or, as you mentioned, Jeremy, at the start of the piece, have a go at reel fishing. We've just restarted after lockdown our Let's Fish events, which are taster events for young people and families to get them a feel of the thrill of reel angling.
Peter, what about the safety element? You could fall in. Sorry, but Matt.
Well, I think if you're with a friend, most people can swim, can't they? I mean, the rivers aren't, it's not like jumping into the sea where you're going to drown and have to cling onto a buoy or something like that. It's just a shallow river. I mean, me and Leggett, we've both got waders. So if our magnet does get stuck, for example, the river's only up to about your hip. I mean, some rivers are deeper and so on, but as long as you're with a friend that can, I mean, we've never been into a deep river at all. We've been up to knee height, if anything.
Do you, when you throw, you said chucking is the word you use, so you don't have a rod, do you?
No, so it's a long 10-metre rope with a magnet on the end.
And the magnet's not, you can't turn the magnet on and off. It's not an electric magnet. It's just a big hunk of magnetic metal.
Yeah, so it's about the size of your hand, the size of your fist, and you just chuck it in on a piece of rope. It attaches to anything magnetic, and you pull it in.
But what happens if it gets stuck to something that just will not move? How do you detach it?
Well, we pull as hard as we can, and if it doesn't come off, which we've never had, normally everything's lighter in water, so unless it's like a heavy car or a motorbike underwater, which you don't normally get, you can get it. Or if you're caught onto something like a car in the river, which I'm sure there won't be.
Exactly.
You could I don't know, hook the van. What me and Leggett would do would hook the van up and pull it out because we're responsible adults. But there's not that sort of stuff in the river. There is crime and bits and pieces, but there's not, someone has to transport that stuff to get it to the river in the first place. So it's got to be liftable unless someone literally drives a motorbike or a car into the river themselves.
Does this set your mind at risk, Peter?
No, I'm sorry. I just don't think that many people carrying out this activity are as well prepared or as organised or conscientious as Matt and his friend, and that's why we're really worried about the activity. We've all mentioned the amount of rubbish left behind, and that's becoming a very regular sight on our towpaths in towns, which is just dragging down the waterways that everybody else should be enjoying.
When you mention the rubbish on the towpath, Peter, I'm just trying to visualise it. So you go somewhere and you'll see metal objects on the towpath and you'll think they've been brought out by magnet fishers who've lost interest in them. Is that right?
It's becoming quite a common sight in some urban towpaths. You see a little pile of rusted material left by the side of a bridge, and it can be scaffold poles or shopping trolleys or stuff like that. So as I say, while Matt and some of the magnet fishers are being conscientious and are removing everything, we're just very worried that lots of other people are not being so good about it, and they're ruining the waterways for everybody else.
Go on, Matt.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're on Peter's side wholeheartedly. There's nothing like even if we're walking up the river and we see magnet fishermen's dirt, we'll put it into our wheelbarrow because we just find it completely disgusting. There should be a law in place. I'm sure there is a law in place, but there should be heavy fines. If you want me and Leggett to drop into House of Parliament with Boris Johnson, we're happy to do so. Come up with a magnet fishing law. If you leave it on the side, get fined £1,000, as the Dippy Detectorists call it.
People love it. I know there's a Facebook group that's got 19,000 members in a couple of years. How do you decide? It's my last question for you, Peter. Is how you actually decide? Sorry, Matt. I've got my Peters and my Matt's. How do you decide which area of water to target? How do you decide? Say we are going there this afternoon. Do you get a tip off or what?
So basically, what we used to do is we used to go on Google Maps. Because we're based in Norwich, we've done it all over the place now, like Suffolk, we've been into Lincoln, but we'll go onto a map on Google Maps, zoom in on a river,
Yeah.
find a spot, and then tick it off the list. We'll go there, fish it, and then basically tick it off the list. But when we started magnet fishing, that must have been about 2 years ago, when it was quite new, we used to come away with probably about a wheelbarrow full of metal per day, just, which is metal out of the river. But now we actually struggle to magnet fish because there is hardly any metal in the river. We'll go to like certain spots in Norwich, like hot spots for crime and so on, if you know what I mean, and we'll come away with a couple of pennies and a couple of rusty nails now, because there is hardly any metal in the river, apart from, you can't get plastic out and so on. That's a different story, but the Norwich rivers are much cleaner for it.
Thank you very much. Nice to talk to you. That was definitely Matt Miller, magnet fisher, based in Norfolk. And if you want to see what he does, he's got a YouTube channel called the Dippy Detectorists.